find it difficult to focus on your customers and even your own employees as you're juggling numerous vendors? Do you have more meetings with vendors than you can count? And do their reports filled with technical jargon make you feel clueless and frustrated? Such is the story of Nathan. Being at a car dealership, he's concerned about his store's digital marketing presence and invests most of his time dealing with vendors to promote his business and gain more sales and market share. Nathan is busy handling reports and reviewing them, not knowing what is happening on the advertising front and about his true ROI. Poor Nathan is worried but can't figure out a solution until he found BZ Consultants Group. BZ Consultants stepped in and was able to take the digital marketing vendor burden off Nathan's plate, giving him peace of mind that the best interest of the dealer was always top of mind. Being an unbiased third party, BZ Consultants always made sure to relay the reports in easy, relatable, and actionable ways so that Nathan could best utilize the data. Now, Nathan can focus on what he really wanted, the customer experience and growth. By being your digital marketing business partner, BZ Consultants Group will remove the hassle trying to hold your vendors accountable and increase your productivity with the time you will now have armed with true data. Together, we make it possible because your success is our goal.
Welcome into Facts, Not Feelings, where what are we doing today? We're diving into the wonderful facts and maybe, hopefully not too much feelings of the recap of DMSC. And I was going to say Dealer Knows, but I got corrected offline in the green here room with my good friend Micah. That is DKSK, which you got a lot of acronyms going on here, Micah.
DKSC. That was right. It was DKSC.
Oh my goodness. I can't. They're
Dealer Knows Summer Camp.
I still trying to get the voice back right now. So for those who are watching, we're calling it like, I think we got the Phoebe, we got the raspy, like the 900 numbered voice going on right now. So for the most part, Micah, I may just have to have you do a lot of the talking today because I think we're going to get like 10 minutes in and I won't have any voice left.
All of a sudden go from this down to this.
That's about where we are.
Got it. Don't push yourself.
I know. And we've already got comments coming in. Peter, as always, thank you so much for your support. Super appreciative. Larry, hello and good afternoon to you. We've got Joshua coming in here. Nice meeting you. Oh, it was great meeting you as well. Super great meeting you. And always the amazing Ashley.
What's up, Ashley?
God, love her to death. And Nathan is a very happy man. It's very true, Peter. He's a very, very happy man. And we've got Don. And Don, I owe you a phone call, sir. Definitely owe you a phone call. And Russell Hill saying, well, hello all. Great to see both Brooke and Mike. It's good to virtually see you in the comments here, Russell. So before we kick this off and do our normal, Mike has been on here before, but if you have not met Michael or you weren't here for the previous episode with Micah, Micah is not only director of sales with VistaDash, you are a veteran in this space. You've been around for 20 years. We could do the whole praise you, which I would do normally. Let's be honest, I'd probably do that anyways. But he's phenomenal. I'm super, super stoked to jump in with this. But before we go any further, let's get the funness out of the way. If you're new to this, like I've said before, we want to share this. We want to get the word out because these two events were going at the same time. And it was like the Solomon baby of being cut in half of I got to go here. I got to go here. And thankfully, I've got Mike with me. So he's going to report on Dealer Knows Summer Camp. I'm going to report on digital marketing, DMSC. And so you can get the best of both worlds. So share this with your friend that you think needs to hear this. Tag them. And let's get the comments. Keep on going with this. All right. So Micah, let's jump into a little bit about your section of it. And I'm going to rest my voice for a little bit. Talk and tell us some of your takeaways from Dealer Knows Summer Camp.
Yeah. So, I could kind of dive into what I talked about, but also what the whole ethos behind the summer camp was. But we're all used to the conferences. We got the conferences where we go to the hotel, the convention center, and all that. But this right here was at Camp Blue Ridge. It was a summer camp, and it was truly a summer camp where we had a lodge. There was cabins, and instead of vendor booths, each vendor that was there participating got to decorate a cabin and offer up their fun little theme. They decorated. It was a lot of fun. But we stayed at a hotel, and we were able to take a shuttle or drive to the summer camp where they had camp activities. We had amazing keynote speakers. We had vendor knowledge transfers. We had dealer knowledge transfers. And then we'd take a break and then do a camp activity. Now think of this. You've got a bunch of vendors and dealers doing canoe races.
That's
Now
awesome.
I'll tell you, Jeremy from VinQ was there, and when he got into it, he's canoeing away. And yes, this is some of the fun part of being able to break up all these intellectual deep dive sessions. But he's canoeing away, and all of a sudden, boop, flips over his kayak. And everyone's laughing. Oh my gosh, she's fully dressed, and we start laughing at him. And then, of course, I figure, you know what? I'm going to try it. So I partner up with somebody, and we dive into the canoe, and I push us off, and I push us completely under, and I completely flip the canoe, soaking wet. There's a video going around of the entire thing. But the idea is this behind it is we are so caught up in the technology and all the deep dive of things that being able to share this knowledge, but then have human interaction outside, not out on the strip where there's flashing lights, smoke and drinking going around all around you, and a cacophony of stimulus that can distract. But instead, you are now able to step outside into a green field or surrounded by a lake, green mountains, and just absorb and take in not just the information, but also the environment. So yeah, there you go.
I got you covered on that one. Got you covered up.
Yeah, it really does. Your environment directs your involvement. And I think what we have seen is in many cases for those that have, like, even from COVID that worked from home, that you are able to identify what is the environment that it means that helps to contribute to your success. Your environment directly affects your involvement. And so being out there, being able to have this camaraderie and do, whether it be a canoe race or there was archery, they played kickball, there was mountain hikes in between, short hikes that brought you out into the woods. So, and then this is not just vendors, there's dealers here that are now having these conversations too, saying, hey, this is way better disconnect than being at some conference. So but we had knowledge transfers. For example, we talked about I talked about digital marketing strategies. What are some of the strategies that we have? And I actually had these little cards made, right?
Oh, that is so cool.
So you've got, like, each table got their own unique card that had all these different logos on it, right? All these different vendor partners, all these different marketing strategies that you could be working with. But then I had everybody, each table had their own scissors, and I told them, cut these up into puzzle pieces. Then once they were done, I had them shift those puzzle pieces around from one table to the next. I said, now you're the marketing director. You just inherited this puzzle. Put that strategy together. So we go through this, and we don't necessarily, maybe Amazon ads is the perfect partner for you. Maybe Facebook and social media strategies are the best, but there's not one single puzzle for all dealers. It is very specific to what their inventory levels are, what their process levels are, what the process and engagement is. So we had to really dive into, okay, so what is working? And then we had a roundtable discussion. I had 4 tables filled with people that we then had, let's discuss what is, each table got their own question. And I said, all right, this is your topic. Think on it, figure out what your answer is. And now we are going to collaborate and share and find what the unifying principle between everybody's answer to these digital marketing questions were. And we had answers pop up like first party data, interested in seeing what they're excited about, what AI and CDPs are going to be doing. So now we were able to not just talk buzzwords, but we were looking at what the relevant application was based upon their marketing strategy that each of the partners that were at that table had. So it was then as soon as we're done with that, we went outside, and some people went and did yoga. Some people went and did played frisbee out. They played frisbee golf. So there is this ability to be able to disconnect, but in the process reconnect. And in that reconnection to the natural environment, it keeps everything in check. We could spend thousands of hours, which we probably do, talking about these things. But how often can we talk about them, think on them, meditate on them, and then step outside and disconnect and let that information absorb rather than going to the next session, the next session, the next session? Now I got to get ready for the party. Now I got to get ready for the dinner. Now I got to make sure I have enough space in my stomach for more bottles of wine, whatever it might be. Right. And so it takes a different take on the conference. And some of the speakers, I will say that at this conference, there were some of the best keynote speakers I have seen in my 20 years in the industry.
That's amazing. And that's saying something, Micah. And I love what Peter just said up here, because it's actually something that you sent over to me. Peter just said here, I think it was Peter. Peter said, awesome engagement tool idea. And something that you'd sent over to me earlier here, and I'm actually going to pull this up here, was about play. And play is imperative to adult learning and connection. And everything that you've just said here is exactly about that. That if we can, and it's not that it's I want to be very clear. We've got two very, very different conferences, and they're both great. And it was just a very different learning style to say, hey, whether it's we're knocking each other over in canoes, hey, we're doing crafts and Martha Stewart crafts and cookies and stuff, but very different learning environments. And so I think to what you're saying and both what Peter's saying, that hey, there's different learning styles. I mean, that's something that for sure, even when I'm helping a client or helping a friend, I know that, hey, everybody learns differently. It may be that you're a very visual learning, but hey, you need to be more hands-on. So having that different take is so imperative. So I love what you just said there. And obviously it's coming through in the chat as well. It's really, really cool. Really cool.
Personally, for myself, if there's a new product, there's a new tool that we're going to be utilizing. If I watch a YouTube video to learn it, or somebody just says, "Hey, you just read through this guide," I'm lost. I need somebody, and this is the way that I learn. I need somebody to be next to me and take me through the steps and share and show, and that way I can see from their perspective what's important to them, not just this is the steps to it, but the why behind everything that we do with that new tech or that new tool. I think that there's one of the speakers was April Holmes. April Holmes, she was a Paralympic gold medalist, but she became a Paralympic gold medalist because she fell on a train track and got a train pinned her down on her leg, and she was stuck under that train, pinned down for 17 minutes. 17 minutes.
That's crazy.
Now, when she's in that pain, she reverted to not just like tuning out the pain, but reconnecting with childhood to help her soothe herself through it. So she started making snowballs. She's got her leg pinned, and she's making snowballs because that brought her joy. And it's wintertime. She's making snowballs, and she's listening. And she started humming songs that reminded of her childhood. And that play atmosphere can actually save our lives. And in her words, it saved hers. But she talked about these train moments where, whether we're a founder of a company and things aren't going well, something is going bad at the dealership where we don't have inventory, or our salespeople are all, their CSI scores are in the dumps. We find ourselves in these train moments where we feel pinned. She had a doctor, when she was laid up, walk in and give her a magazine that was all about the Paralympics, gold medalists and all that. It was all about that. And in that process of being able to go through this train moment, she was able to then read through the magazine, find out, oh wait, there's men and women who are para athletes that are now winning gold medals. And she made that moment right then. She made the dedication that she was going to win a gold medal. She did it for the U.S. at the Paralympic Games, and there would never be any other anthem but the national anthem, the American national anthem being played. So that was like her dedication. So from hearing their stories, now what are these train moments that we have? I know we're talking about facts, but we cannot discount some of the feelings that we have in this industry and those connections that help to propel us forward and saying, all right, this is that moment, this is that reset. Okay, how can I take this information and apply it? So there was some great speakers for sure.
And as you're going through here, once again, when you sent that over to me, I was like, oh my God, I actually went and looked her up. I was like, this is, there was also the Boston Marathon. I don't know if I think it's called Stronger, where lost his leg. And then it was just like those stories are something like getting chills right now. It's just so amazing when your mindset just changed and you're like, I'm not going to be kept down like this. I'm going to go forth and I'm just going to continue to crush it. And how that mindset really does just change everything, man. Because you could just be like, no, my life sucks. I'm not going to go on. I was dealt a really shitty card, and I'm just I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to go on anymore. And
that's why I have this right here, right behind me. See that? Better than yesterday. If it's a bad day, you can there it is. it can always be better than yesterday. So whether that's the energy you put forth, the sales that you're generating, whether it is a high or a low, it can always get better than yesterday.
And that's what that is like. You can always, regardless how bad it is, as long as you're improving from yesterday. I absolutely love it. The other thing that you had up here, and I'm throwing up some comments here real quickly. We got a lot.
I saw a couple of those. Jordan Cox is my co-pilot. Saw that one pop up there.
So Micah, you're saying that the 85%. You're saying that Jeff, you're gonna have to clarify that a little bit, buddy. I'm not sure.
I think there's another piece. So Micah, you're saying that the 85% is
success in life. There we go. See, this is why. Apparently, the lack of voice apparently went to lack of oxygen to my brain. That's probably what's happening right now, Mike. I'm pretty sure.
Not a problem. We're getting through this together.
So, another person that had put in the comments here about you being a good describer, and so one of the things you put up there was about the value of storytelling is a lost art. That can be applied to multiple mediums and verticals. I want you to go into this a little bit because it's like, I swear that so many people have read our notes beforehand. I'm like, literally, we were just going to talk about this. So go into this a little bit about this.
Yeah, so one of the speakers was Beth Mack, and she was, I guess you could say she was one of the counselors of digital marketing strategies, she's brought up when you're building out your story, you're building out your campaigns, and you're trying to figure out who you are and what you're trying to convey. She brought up this thing called PIPdecks. There is it's PIPdecks.com, and this was a great tool that she shared. Basically, what they are, they're cards that have themes, questions, and it's used to help build out that format of what is the story, whether it's a story of your brand as a dealership. Who are we? Where are we family owned? What's the story that goes behind the family that's owned it and has built it up? Are we a new first gen, second gen, third gen? What is it about what you're doing that's unique in your marketplace? And how can you build out that story that's going to resonate with people? Now, it's not just about creating that story, but utilizing these PIPdecks to create the story that then can be applied to different mediums, because different mediums are going to resonate with different groups of people, that's where we can tap into the feelings a little bit more, right? So how do we engage based upon the medium with that story and have a consistent story, but it's unique to each and every medium? So one of the things that she brought up is not just using that, customizing, creating it, and getting really good at prompts with AI. That was another piece that really resonated. It's not just learning how to ask ChatGPT questions, but learning how to prompt properly and take it to the next level. So it's not just about creating, hey, how can I create a follow-up email? All right, so now how do you create that story? I want to create a story based upon the dealership. This is some of the basic stats. Now format this into a conversational or turn this into a different format and change it up. And so being able to identify how to do some deep dive prompts for ChatGPT, but utilizing stuff like pip cards to guide that outline is an amazing tool.
And I will dive into on the DMSC side a little bit about
the
AI portion is, and I'll get that in a little bit here. One thing as well is that you actually, while you take a drink here, I am going to dive into that portion here on the, I'll go on, I'll say the buzzword bingo one. So when it comes to whether, what is your plan for when you're incorporating technologies like CDP, AI, and ChatGPT? Have you actually evaluated the effects on your team and processes and the potential to disrupt the customer journey? And so what was interesting about that, Angus Fox and I were sitting and talking about a lot of different things. You get Angus and I in a room together, it's kind of a scary thought sometimes. But in particular, we're talking about ChatGPT, and him and Zach Billings were presenting on it. And as we were talking about it, the next morning they were presenting, and that night, ChatGPT looked like something. The next morning, they'd added a whole bunch of plugins. He's like, well, this just goes to prove, like, you can't just constantly rely on something and think it's not going to change, which then will lead into another portion I've got on here. But with that, what are you thinking the long-term effects of it? Have you thought about the legal ramifications of it? Because while I use ChatGPT all the time, I love it. I also know there's a lane with which it resides. If I'm asking it to do certain things that it can't do, I'm going to be disappointed. If I'm just going to let it run wild, there's going to be some massive legal ramifications for that, because it's just an AI tool. And the prompts are so key. Like, I have another tool that are just for prompts, because I can do a good job. The prompts are ever evolving. And I think that sometimes we forget that it's a predictive text, just like, and Angus and Zach did a very good job of explaining this. Just as like in our phones, we have auto text. It's just like a super, super fancy and extravagant predict text. And so while I can put something in there, I might get the same response 3 different times. I'm like, but it's this, the prompt hasn't changed. I'm asking something completely different. Why is that? Well, it's the predictive test. So I go back to all this, whether it's all these buzzwords are like slow down, and I'll get into more of this, but I wanted to make sure you could get a drink there for, as you've been carrying the show here for a hot second here. So I super
I'd hate to
appreciate
have
that.
my voice end up like yours. I mean,
Oh man,
it's okay.
It's been bad. It's been bad. I'm like trying to send videos to you. I'm like, so yeah, 100% on that one. We've got Ashley saying here, there's so much. There is so much that most haven't unleashed with ChatGPT, and that we've only touched the tip of the iceberg with it. And so, yes, Ashley, right, that prompts are the most important key factor of using ChatGPT properly and professionally. Change is inevitable. How our dealers hate change. Some don't, a lot do, but some don't. And we've got apparently Jordan Jeff is your hero. So I feel like we need to have like the hero song going on there. But he is second to Brooke. Thank you very much. So going on here, a couple more of these, and then like I said, I want to make sure we talk about dealer knows, and then like I said, we'll segue here into a minute here with DMSC. The other one that I saw that you put on here, there's I loved all the ones that you were sending. I'm like, oh, these are so good. These are so good. Was the vendor tug of war one. So do you mind talking about that a little bit here?
Yeah. So one of the things ended up was a literal tug of war. It was not just a concept. We literally had vendor against vendor in a tug of war, rope in the open, in the quad area. But when you really start looking at what that exercise showed, yes, it was a bunch of friends. And this is the great thing about when you find the right participants in a conference, is that they are they're happy to share, to maybe embarrass themselves, because they know that this is all about it's about that human connection. So there was a tug of war, vendors against vendors. So it was, oh gosh, who was it? I think it was like SearchMD versus Dealer Teamwork. So there's a bunch of them that was great. I think TrueCar was there versus, can't remember exactly who they went against, but it was like back and forth. But what we realized, and what this exercise showed, is that yes, there is a lot of vendors in our space, and they are fighting for their place within that dealership. However, when you find the right partner mix, they may be pulling, but it's not necessarily about pulling to win. It's pulling to better everything that's going on. So some guys tied that rope around their waist and just dug in, and they tried to scurry, and it didn't work out really well for some. But for others, it did. So it's these games, it's that play that was able once again to be able to resurface. And let's put the vendors head to head. And it was that aspect that was a little bit different, rather than, hey, let's go up there and have a pitch tank battle off, right? It wasn't about that. It was about, what are we sharing? What's the knowledge transfer? And in that case, that knowledge transfer benefited everyone in the room. For example, we had a gentleman, Dave Hudson Productions. He does professional video. He's a director, producer, and he went up on stage. Remember, we don't have a projector. There's no Wi-Fi.
So you had no Wi-Fi.
There no Wi-Fi for these presentations, so you're not going live to websites. You are training. You are educating. This is tapping into pieces of paper, cardboard, and scissors. This shows. It puts that ability to challenge yourself to be a trainer and educator, rather than just a keynoter that's trying to sell a product on a stage. So Dave Hudson said, hey, I'm going to show you exactly what you can do utilizing your phone. And he took us step by step, took us through notes. This is the mic you should get. This is the software you should invest in. It's all on the phone. These are the apps. This is what you can do. Make sure the lighting is on the side rather than this. And he walked us through how to create and direct a television commercial for the dealership right there. How to create prompts for scripts through ChatGPT for that, so that you have your scripts and outlines all laid out. And so it was that type of knowledge transfer, that from a tug of war to a knowledge transfer, that we're able to really get that full picture of what's the ethos and what's the true purpose behind summer camp.
So you're telling me that video equipment and editing, and I love also when you love to set this up. This is something that I learned really on, but the first time around, but like the second time around when I started opening my company, I thought I had to have everything. I had to have all of these shiny tools. I had to throw it on, and I go, no, you don't. Like just buy, like you said, your phone is most phones shoot in 4K. You don't need all the fancy equipment. Now, if you're blessed to have that with a company that has that, that's phenomenal. But you really don't have to have that. So video equipment and editing doesn't need to cost thousands. You can accomplish so much with hundreds and someone who wants to see you succeed. I love that because we need to scream out more and more from the mountaintops. What is TikTok? TikTok is like this right here. It's shooting from your phone. It's very rarely do you see, I mean, some people can, but it's such raw footage. It's great. So I love that you put that in there. And then Ashley saying Gray Scott shared at the CXO Summit his guide of prompts, and it was so helpful. Layers needed. It's not one and done. No, you got to keep asking questions. Got to keep asking questions. And one of the last things that you saw in here is the ability to, if you've got clients and if you help those clients and how that ripple effect that you put in there. So I'm going to throw up this screen here real quickly, and then we'll transition over to DMSC here. What is it here? Help and educate. The true professional ones.
Yeah, so true professionals with 6,000 clients take the time to help and educate and knowledge transfer to those with 6 clients. So this, there's a friend of mine, Stephen Moore, who has got a startup. And Stephen Moore has been a friend of mine for quite some time now, and we're close. And he was able to sit with a founder of a company that sat down and took the time. What is your business? What is your value proposition? What is it you do? And these are the steps to how to help you scale. So it wasn't just, and this is where I think like vendors, sometimes they butt heads because they're not willing to give up that secret sauce into their success and their growth. But it's at opportunities like this where you could see a founder sitting with another founder and going through, this is what it's going to take. These are the highs and lows. This is where you'll see better than yesterday moments. This is where you might be stuck in one of those train moments where you're not growing at the pace that you want, but it's just a season. This is how you can break out of it. So there were very successful founders and CEOs that were at Dealer No Summer Camp, and they were willing to sit down with those new to the business, fresh, and help transfer that knowledge so that they could find that success as well. And once again, I think that shouts back to, I think Peter said, success is a mindset, and that's 100% what it is if you believe that you're successful and you hit those goals that you set for yourself, you are a success. Now it's just a matter of what's your next goal? What's your next mountaintop? What is the next hill you're going to climb? And once again, it can get lost in the hustle and bustle of Vegas when all of a sudden you go from one to the next. But when you hear those conversations, you step outside and see literal mountaintops, that really starts to sink in. Well, did I lose you?
Here. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, for some reason, apparently I threw up the video and decided to take out my mic here. We're transitioning over to DMSC. Yes. And Micah, I know that you've been there. This might be one of the first ones you've missed. I won't say missed, the first one you haven't been to in a while. And the first one also, it hasn't been in Napa. It's usually in Napa. Yeah. So we're in Austin. You've got your team up here right now, just rocking it and killing it up here. They did a phenomenal job. And I had the pleasure to do live interviews at the VistaDash dealer build. And as VistaDash and Dealer Built announced that you all acquired a CRM called OpLogic, and that's what we get to in as well. But it was a couple things. Well, before I get into the takeaways here, I'll say as well is that it was much bigger. I also like the fact that there wasn't a 2-hour drive to Napa. That was really, really nice. I was definitely a big fan of that one. And a couple of things on that one as well, why there was a bigger crowd, which is always nice. And of course, we got to show off the chase. Definitely always.
Oh, look at that.
We got to do that. But it was nice just to have bigger crowds. There was definitely the buzzword bingos, which you're going to get a lot of that for sure. The last day there was the GA4 council. I won't say council, but GA4 training. I thought I booked my ticket in time to attend that, but I did not. So I did definitely miss that. But before I jump into the meat of that one, I do want to do a quick shout out to VistaDash that you guys, I was unaware of this, is that you guys are actually you guys are doing a full out summit or I'll call it a summit, a conference here on June 14th through the 12th. And it's if you're unfamiliar with the incredible distillery in Lexington, Kentucky. And we all know that Dan Moore if there's going to be alcohol involved, it's going to be good alcohol. So you're definitely going to check this out.
It will be quality.
It'll be quality. It's quick enough.
There'll be quality, and most likely there will be quantity. That's just kind of how that balance quality and quantity.
You for sure know that. I'm actually going to throw up the link here to that real quickly. This is where you can go register for it. But they're kicking off Monday night. And what I also liked about that is you're talking about all these different conversations going on is that this is really quick. Like, let's just get to the meat of it. Let's have some fun and then go home. There's no like, hey, let's just pound you with meetings and then have your head explode. So the event is kicking off Monday evening at the Rabbit Hole Distillery. It's a private tour of the distillery. It's a great time to connect with obviously all of our industry friends. And not to mention, obviously, there's going to be awesome food. I mean, once again, when there's involves Dan, there's going to be very, very good food.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday is going to be meetings at, oh my gosh, El Toro. There we go. It's at El Toro.
Yep.
If you're unfamiliar, just know they have a lot of data and a lot of good data. We'll leave it at that. And then Wednesday, some more details will be coming, but then to go home Wednesday. So you're not being like overloaded with all of it, just inundated with meetings. So just wanted to do a quick thing on that one. So let's get into just some of my takeaways from DMSC. So my first one is if I can get to the thing here, is that don't forget the human aspect. And I cannot stress this enough with all of the talk about whatever it is. We are still humans at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if it's AI, it doesn't matter if it's ChatGPT or insert any acronym you want to throw in at this point. We still need us. We still need whatever it may be. There are humans that are running it. Without that human connection, without the humans saying, this is the process that has to do this. We have to have all this. We have to have that human aspect to make everything run. And sometimes we just kind of forget about that and just think that the AI or the technology is going to just take that over and that's going to make everything work. You have to have the human aspect. Peter Smith here's budget targets and goals. Make sure your goals are achievable. Add 10 to 50% for your targets and out of 10, shoot for targets when you reach goals, reward yourself. So that was a big one for me, is just that as everyone was talking, and James actually did a really good job talking about it. James Costet did a really good job talking about this as well. The other one is that for me was always, we're going to skip over, is always to inquire and always continue to inquire. And this was one, especially for me, this hit home to me really, really hard, is that we have so many incredible, whether as a dealer, whether as a vendor, whatever it is, how many times do we look at our colleagues and say, I talk to you all the time. I have no idea what the hell you do. Or you think you do, but you really have no idea. I was talking to Gino with Dealer Process. We've talked multiple times. And I just go, hey, I know you have a new product coming out. And I actually really don't, I want to see what it does. That conversation evolved into this whole eye-opening, holy shit moment of, I had no idea that your product could do this. I go, and we go, you need to come on the show because I don't think a lot of people even know that the back end of your tool can do this. He goes, I don't think they can. And then that goes into the next one of like, keep asking, never stop asking. Nope. This one is to continue to, are we sufficiently inquiring? Do we truly comprehend the roles of not only our vendor friends, but as dealers, do we grasp the complete extent of our vendor services? I mean, Micah, you know as well as me, how many times does a dealer, or even as whether you have a referral agreement or whatever it may be, that we cancel something because we just didn't understand what the heck it did, and that's really on us.
Yeah, all the time. What somebody else? Well, here's the thing. Goes back to this. Somebody else signed up for something. They're not there, or if they got moved to a different department, and now you're walking in and you're not familiar with it, you don't know what it is, and instead of taking the time to, all right, let's do a level reset, let's go through the product, let's learn what your services are and get a full education on it. What do we have now? Are we using it to its full capability? And what is that next offer that you have? Those are the questions that you should be asking if you're new to a product that you inherited. Is what do you do? Are we using it to its full extent? And what else do you have to offer? Because just asking those questions can then take you down that path of, oh, so you say that you're doing this, but yet I had a meeting with somebody else who's also doing that. So I've got duplication of efforts, doubling my expenses. So which one's going to be able to offer you not just what you're looking for, but that next level of service and has the path for growth that you want to be able to tap into. So what is your roadmap? What is it? Having those and asking those questions, much like, and if you don't know the questions to ask, create really good prompts on ChatGPT and start saying, what question should I ask my vendor? What's a great follow-up question? And how can I ask and inquire? So create those prompts to ask the questions, and it will help.
And I'll be the first to say that there have been times, not just once or twice, but many times, even when I'm preparing questions to ask my guests, that I'll ask. And once again, you have to know the prompts to ask it, but you'll just get, writer's block. And if you ask the right questions, like, man, I wouldn't even thought to ask that. So it 100% works. But with that, it's just, I'll also say is keep asking the question, because like you said, you may ask one person and they'll tell you, oh, yeah, our product does that. Okay. Now you may feel that it does, and maybe you're trying to make the sell, or maybe you were told it does, but it may not actually do that. So keep asking the question. Reach out to your network of friends and say, hey, I know you have product XYZ. Does it actually do this? We thought it did as well, but actually when you dive into it, it's not fully integrated or whatever it may be, but really do your research. So just keep asking those questions, because for me, especially, like, that is just something that I looked at. I was just like, man, and it happens a lot that we get so caught up with our friends in the industry, and you're like your buddies, and you're like, oh man, and I get the same question, Brooke, we know you from the podcast. We don't really know what you do though. So it goes both ways. Or we even talk about it. Jeff is saying, typically when you get a good rep at a company, they're going to get promoted in 4 months. Ooh, that's a good one. I spend more time training the company on our strategy and bring the new person up to speed. That is really, really true, Jeff. That's a really good one. Ashley's saying it's easy to get excited on the initial demo, but make sure you have the right key players involved that would utilize the profit. How will they use it? Let them ask the question, encourage it. And you made a good point on our last call. Last time we met was like, what does success look like to you? I mean, that's something that I always say is what may look like success to me doesn't look like success to you. So we'll round this out here with the last one that I said that I had in here. It's just, please, continue education is essential for personal growth. Like, this is something that's so big. So find the conferences that work best for you. Like, it may not be, depending on what your aisle is, what your avenue is. One of these conferences might not be the best for you, but this one over here, Used Car Week, may be the best one for you. Find your lane, find what it is, but just don't stop learning. It is so imperative that you continue to grow. So those were my main big takeaways. And yeah, I think we did a pretty good job summing this up, Micah. I think we did. I think we did.
I think that to tie into what you said about continuing education, continuing to learn, the other aspect is and I'm going to throw this in there, don't just learn your skills at what you're doing. Pick another subject.
Oh yeah.
Pick something else to expand your mind. I'm a big proponent of fiction, of reading science fiction, fantasy, stuff that makes you think and use your imagination. The more you can use your imagination, the more that you can expand, it's going to benefit you in your current role, because you are now thinking differently. Pick up a different skill. I've decided that I'm going to pick up a skill. I'm not saying which one it is yet, but I will say that I have chosen it. But the whole idea is I need to learn something new, expand my mind so that I have more interest in what I'm currently doing too. So it's about finding those mental breaks, but also being able to learn during those mental breaks with something different.
Yeah, and we'll round it out here. Ashley saying to Jeff, yes, we are educating our vendors more often than not, which is totally fine, but keep my support the same. Consider their clients and don't overwhelm them with large book of business. Oh, that is, I'm a huge proponent on that one as well, Ashley. Support is key in keeping clients happy. So whether you're a seasoned veteran, whether you're a novice to the field, it honestly doesn't matter when it comes to continuing to learn. Like, you just got to continue to learn, and whether it's from something like this, whether it's going to conference, and if you're a head of a company, please ensure that your employees are getting the training they need, whether it's in-house, sending them to conferences. It pains me when I hear that certain employees are having to take off PTO on their own dime, send themselves to a conference and like hide away because their owner won't let them. Like, please, let's continue this education. It's so key to continue to educate. So, Mike, I know we have done the lightning round in the past, so we're gonna change it up here to a very, very short round. Okay. For those that maybe be new to this, your personal link is obviously right down below here. How can everyone find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so LinkedIn, Micah Birkholz, just like it's spelled there, at VistaDash. My email address is micahbirkholz@VistaDash.com. My phone number is 612-406-0877. That's 612-406-0877. That's how you can connect with me. I might be one of the only people left in automotive that is not on social media anymore. Different story for another time, but that's always a fun conversation, especially when people are like, how are you in digital marketing when you don't know social media? It's like another conversation. But I would love to share with those for anybody that wants to ask. But yeah, that's how you can connect with me. Best way, shoot me a text message if you have any questions. And happy birthday preemptively to Jeff, I guess.
Yeah, happy birthday, Jeff, and June 12th. A little bit away, but okay. Happy birthday.
There we go. All right. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you can connect with me. Oh, and also hit that link for the conference, the summit that we're doing in Louisville. What's great about that is we are keeping it small. We are purposely looking to keep this small, keeping this intimate, so it's not a whole bunch of people. We want to keep this small specifically so that there's good conversations. Once again, quality and quantity, that's going to go hand in hand together. So.
And it will be in the show notes. I know right here in the show notes, I will have that as well. It will definitely be there. So, all right. So when it comes to conferences, what is your main takeaway when you go into a conference? What are you looking to, how do you keep your mind sharp, and how do you take away those things that you've learned, and how do you take away and make sure you continue to implement them?
So I look for something new, somebody that I haven't seen, because we go from conference to conference and we sit and listen to the same people. In many cases, we hear a lot of the same talking points. So by finding somebody I'm not aware that I've never met before, somebody that is talking about a subject that's new to me or different to me, I look for those people. I look specifically for them. It's got the Duck Dynasty. Did they go there? There we go. All right. So
the show somewhere else.
There we go. All right. Well, I know I got that going for me. So that's great.
We went from conferences to Duck Dynasty. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So I look for somebody that's new, that's talking about a subject like Beth Mack that we met at Dealer Knows summer camp. Never met her before. Haven't heard her speak before. Didn't know what she was going to be talking about. But hearing her, she actually changed up what she was going to talk about the last minute to switch it to the storytelling. So I found extreme value in her sharing the PIPdecks is one of the things. Now, what do I do to ensure is knowing that I went to places that are new ideas and new people that I've never met before. It's fresh. Because if we keep on hearing the same thing over from the same people over and over again, we're going to go and be like, oh, it all kind of blends together. But now I have very specific key points. I took notes quite a bit on my phone, especially with Dave Hudson on what type of equipment, different tools to utilize, different software. So, and here's the other thing. I didn't, where is it? So one gentleman that wasn't there participating, but he was a sales trainer. I've never met him before, and he said leading and managing unbreakable teams. So now I've got his guide, and I'm going to dive into this. It's exceptional. Once again, there's no digital transfer, there's no screen, so they handed out books, real books, and so yeah, I had to make room in my so I had to make room in my luggage so that I could get it. But because this is something new, something different, I'm now going to be able to dive in, learn more about this person, what he does, what his company does, and some of the guides that he can share. Now, I may agree with it, I may disagree with it, but it's good information, and because it's different, it's going to be fresh.
I think we'll end on that one. Because I just had you on. I was like, we want to do something different. Like, let's make it more intuitive. Like, hey, some people go to conferences and you forget, like, I don't even know how to. A lot of people are like, I just go and I'm there, but then you forget everything. So I always, I love that. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to say, yeah, they did go into my Halloween costume.
I saw that.
May have had a Halloween costume that I went and visited Ashley at work with on Halloween when I had a meeting with the team there. So yeah.
It's pretty epic, is all I'm going to say. It's pretty epic. There you go. Well, Micah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this. For PCG, Brian Pash, the entire Pash family and team, putting on DMSC. Any conference is not easy to put on. So thank you for all the hard work and dedication behind the scene making it happen. Dealer Knows team, Joab, the entire team there, putting on that once again. Yep. phenomenal job, and just great. Just thank you for all the hard work, and anytime putting on a conference, just thank you so much. And thank you for coming on the show and doing this. I super appreciate it. And the VistaDash team, and like I said, get your tickets. They're going fast. So hopefully see you guys there. And with that, everyone, we're going to sign off here and go rest my voice more or less. So hopefully have a voice in the next little bit. But as always, find a way to serve today for everyone. Find a way to help somebody, whether that's a kind smile, whether that's open a door, going to Memorial Weekend. So there's so many ways to serve. And with that, Micah, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon, everyone.
Take care.